Guess who's stopping by now, guys? Without further ado, it's Rich Eisen joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hi, honey.
Hello. How are you, hon?
I'm great. We're having fun. Brought the guys breakfast as always, you know.
Is it wrong that I also, when I say hun, I mean Del Tufo as well? Is that okay?
Thank you, Rich.
I didn't think you were talking to me.
Nope.
Our friend Sam in Fort Worth asked me if I could do a class for wives out there. I said, you don't want any part of this.
What would that class be? What would that? I don't understand.
I think it was
what
just
would the
being awesome.
Curriculum.
Just being
what
awesome.
What would the curriculum be? Okay.
How to outbook your husband. Pete Thamel joining us, by the way, in the third hour.
Is he?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, when you reached out to me this morning, and told me, hey, Pete Thamel, we're trying to reach out to him. I looked across the table at my brunch mate and mentioned this to him, and he immediately FaceTimed Pete Thamel.
Oh no!
And told him that Susie Schuster was looking for him and that he needed to do the show. And then flashed the phone in my direction when I just went like that. So I'm glad that this came through because you know who that person is, right, Suze?
I do.
That person?
I do.
His name is Pat McAfee. So McAfee helped book the show today.
I can't decide whether I'm happy about this or I
should
feel
be.
outflexed.
No.
Can I really feel smug about this if I got help? I know.
Hey, Susie, can I jump in here real quick?
Kind of.
Right?
Suze, can I jump in here real quick?
Yes, please.
Your husband
Such a good guy.
could have taken that story to the grave,
Yeah.
right? He could have allowed you to believe that you had booked Pete solely on your own merits.
Hold on
and
a
your
second.
name.
No.
Excuse
me.
And he did this to you. I don't like that.
No,
I don't like
Was that
at
kind
all.
of like 1950s housewife
No,
thing? Did I just get a little
because
itch, or
the
was he being
story.
sweet?
No, the story isn't. First of all,
I don't like doing you like that.
Hi,
I'm
honey.
chipping. No,
I love sitting in this seat. Sorry.
No,
hi.
I think the details of the story are.
Pretty
I was
cool.
trying to be helpful.
Also very cool.
Also, but the first thing he said to Pat was, "I know Susie's already reached out."
Oh, okay. Phew.
So, and he said he was doing it. So I'm glad that you've done this because I can't book Pete Thamel. So there's that.
I think the bigger
Okay.
headline here is you're having brunch with the enemy.
What is? Why
Eric
are
the
you?
enemy? No, he's here in L.A.
Wow.
He is not the
I mean,
enemy, Chris. Why would you refer to him as that?
Because he's from New England. That's why.
You know, but Pat's our
That's our
been
guy.
Yeah, but
our
he played
guy
the
for a
Colts
long
and-
time.
He played for the Colts, and that's
no.
never going to sit
And,
well.
no, Chris is trying to play a role here because back in the day, you, Chris, were one of the first ones to say, this guy McAfee is awesome,
Oh, for sure.
and we should have him part of our show, our podcast,
I said that
our
about
show.
12 years ago, I think I said
exactly.
that.
So you're just playing a role here. All right.
Well, I mean,
and
there's,
I
a,
appreciate
there's
that.
a bunch of people at noon Eastern. And, I mean, you could have brunch with anybody in Indianapolis. They're all there. That's all.
But
I'm
you
saying.
don't,
you know
you
what?
understand. It's a brotherhood, Chris. This is a brotherhood of broadcasters.
Is this
This is like, symbiosis.
Was Rome and Colin also at this brunch?
well, excuse me. You know I've had lunch with Colin in the last couple of months, Chris. You know that.
world
You're
didn't
playing
know
a
until
role.
now. The world didn't know that.
I know that. This is all out there. Bottom
Aren't you
line is
so
Pete
glad
Thamel's
that you
on the
zoomed
show
in?
in hour 3. Yeah, of course. Always. It's,
How was brunch? What'd you have?
Yeah,
Where'd you
what
go?
did you have?
What'd you have?
Did you bring your own eggs?
Did you bring your own eggs? Brown eggs.
BYOE? Is that what you're saying? What?
Are you trying to say something? Is this like a
yeah,
an
you
above
still
table
watch Curb?
conversation or
Curb.
below?
You still
That was
watch
Curb
Curb
this
this
week.
week? If you watch Curb this week, like
Curb-
when I
Curb
let off
this
with
week.
gratitude on Monday, you will get and you will laugh your head off at this age
Curb,
joke.
that'll be
I
that'll
did
be on
not-
the way home. That'll be a home run.
I did not bring my own eggs.
That was funny, Chris. I'm gonna tell you that now.
All right,
I
what'd
did
you
not.
have?
I had eggs.
Were they organic? So he got the brunch before 11, is what he said.
Egg whites.
There before
Egg
11.
whites.
Yep.
Egg whites.
He got here before 11. That's how
No
we
green
know.
vegetables. You went full Al Michaels this morning.
And Pat was an outstanding brunch
Pat had
friend.
his
It was
steak, for
great.
sure.
On the way out the door, we said hello to Wes Welker We're sitting here at the counter.
Wes Welker.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Wes Welker. I believe
Hey,
that he's
how are
on
you?
the Dolphins. He's on the Dolphins staff.
Kid.
I did not bring up how one of his famous moments in Indianapolis once led to the supposition that one individual can't throw it and catch the ball.
Yes.
Didn't bring that one up. Left that to myself or to bring it up on this program when we're
By
all
the way,
having a
Wes
conversation.
Welker played with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and didn't win a Super Bowl.
That's the
How did that
saddest thing
insane.
I've ever heard. That's
Isn't
sad.
that crazy?
Hurts my heart.
That's insane.
Painful.
I mean,
And by the way,
part of another.
By the way, and he should have caught it.
yeah. By the way,
Hit both his hands.
maybe he would have won one then.
Just
right.
But Wes looked like he could give us some snaps. He looked great.
All right, good.
And so, yeah, it was a fun brunch. And Pete Thamel's on the show on an hour 3, and that was all you, Suze.
So what did you talk about at brunch, Rich? Let's be a little
I don't
weird.
think that's suitable for air, Suze.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. We just talked about,
It's just us here. We're just chatting. We just want to know.
It was great. It was great. Pat is just great, and he is, as you might imagine, Mr. Indianapolis. The meal was interrupted many times, and
Sleeves or no sleeves?
Full sleeve. It's cold out, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah, but you can
cold,
still
man.
show the guns.
This is not fodder. This is not conversation fodder. There's got to be other stuff to talk about.
Did you go to Steak and Shake yet? That's what I want to know, Rich.
Whoa,
Mike, I arrived at midnight last night. If the answer to that was yes, it would be a major problem for me, and not just because Suze would frown upon such
Rich
late
is trying
night
to stay
dining.
below 200, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I was watching
That's-
Ricky Stenicki last night. I mean, I don't know what you were doing, but I was watching Ricky Stenicki because
That's
Jeff
'cause
Ross
you
is going
are-
to come in for tomorrow.
Yeah, you're being a professional,
That's
Suze.
right, I try.
And I'm glad that you're doing that. And yeah, so I'm getting ready for. I've got a meeting later on today, heading over to the stadium to talk about 4 days of television, and I'm jacked up.
All right, so let's get your opinions. Let's get right into this, Rich. Then let's
Sure.
let's
we
make
kind of
you
did get
miserable off
right
the top.
into it, but
No.
okay, what do you got?
Let's just
do you
go Jets right away. Joe Douglas talking about Zach Wilson's future with the team. Let's hear what he had to say.
There's not much.
Well, I've had good conversation with his agent, Brian Ariel. Where we are exactly, we've given them permission to talk to other teams about a trade. I'm going to circle back with Brian at some point, either this week or next week, just to see how those conversations go. But other than that, there's nothing else to report.
Well, okay, yeah, I know. Listen, we already know what the market is for what they could get for Zach Wilson, and it's what the Niners got for Trey Lance. I mean, that's it. Trey Lance was chosen right after him. The Niners got a 5th round pick from Dallas for Trey Lance. So, it's a 5th round pick, at least, I imagine, or it's less than that now because the Jets are clearly not going to have him on the team. And the only question is what do the Jets do at quarterback for this season? And the answer is got to have somebody who can grow a 5 o'clock shadow by 5 o'clock. That's for sure. And it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances for this team, and that they're back here at a combine trying to wonder about what their future is at quarterback, and going into the season with Aaron Rodgers and not knowing who's going to back him up, and it's just and also hearing how Mecole Hardman said on a podcast that he thought that things were at a level with the team somewhat unprofessional, helmets on the ground and things like that, which is, those sorts of details that you don't hear from winning teams. Helmets on the ground in practice are a red flag because those things, believe it or not, are tripping hazards. And those are the attention to detail type things that normally you don't hear about from teams that win, like the Kansas City Chiefs. It just is an unfortunate set of circumstances. The Jets have the 10th overall pick. They're going to use it on an offensive lineman to protect their quarterback. And then the question is what do they do from there? So
what do you think?
That's kind of all. What do I think is they're going to have to go out and get a veteran quarterback, and it's going to have to be somebody that it would be ironic if it's Joe Flacco, don't you think? At the very end of the day,
You're right.
that the guy that they could have had and gotten off the couch, and maybe he could have won a comeback player of the year award for them. Although I doubt it. The Browns are just a better team than the Jets, up front, running backs, the whole thing. And I say that knowing that Breece Hall is one of the most dynamite people that the Jets have found in the draft. So I'm just kind of down on all of it right now, and it makes sense that they're letting him seek a trade because he's not going to be with the team next year.
Rich, so you've been there about 12 hours. What have you heard so far? What's the best thing you've heard so far in Indy?
Basically, that Pat likes his eggs with bacon in it. Honestly, that's about it.
In it.
In it. He had to chop up 4 slices of bacon in his eggs. Long story short is I haven't.
That does sound
good.
It
It was really good, no doubt.
Not egg whites though for Pat.
Not egg whites. No, listen, I haven't been out yet, so
Okay.
I'm heading to the stadium later on, and trust me, my ears will be to the ground. I'm going to be out for dinner tonight. That's usually where you start hearing stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then comes the actual day itself when you're strolling around the building and you hear a lot. But the interesting piece of news that I read about today, and I'm sure that's why you're having Pete Thamel on, is he spoke to Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb Williams says that if he goes to Chicago, he's excited. And listen, if he's sitting out there wondering why that's even part of the conversation, it's because there is a drumbeat that I heard before even getting to this city. It's a drumbeat that he is going to try and control the draft in a way that players usually don't attempt it. And it does appear that he is 100% just throwing him into this mix of the draft, and whatever will be, will be. So I would just counsel my own 2 cents, if it was on this committee of attorneys and media relations people that are on his team, I would tell him to say exactly what he told Pete Thamel, which is, I'm just like everybody else who comes to this event and decides not to throw, not to go and do anything here except interviews and speak to media. I would go ahead and say, I'm happy to go wherever I want to go, and that I'm excited to go wherever I go. And that's the end of that, because the whole concept about Caleb Williams that people are still potentially not bought on is he going to be a headache when it comes to the conversations of being a rookie and throwing yourself into the mix of the NFL, or you're trying to change the way NFL teams do business with incoming rookies in a way that might ruffle a feather or cause a headache. Again, we're just all looking for flags that I don't think that exist right now, but he should not play into that. And that sense all came from the conversation back in September about, his dad talking to GQ, and us also wondering if he is going to forego the draft, if he was going to stay in school, even though that was a weird conversation to have, because no matter how much you make from NIL, it would pale in comparison to starting the clock towards a monumental contract for him by year 4. So makes sense, and I can't wait to hear what else Pete Thamel has to say when he zooms into the show later on.
We talked about this with Stacey Dales earlier about character and how so many of these GMs want to assess a player's character and person, how important it is to have character fit into a locker room. Louis Riddick mentioned that yesterday on What the Football, and he mentioned also about there are a couple people out there who are still reserving judgment on Caleb Williams' character. So it'll be fascinating for you to get in the building and start talking to people. It's all about the hallway conversations, right? In Indianapolis, like a little run in the hallway.
Yeah, and it's always
in the ear.
Yeah, it's always somebody who's spoken to this trainer or spoken to that scout, or the assistant spoke this way and they heard about this or about that. But I really haven't heard anything about Caleb Williams' character issues, about being a bad teammate or being somebody that can't be counted on when the chips are down in a third down situation. It's really just red flags that I don't think exist, and I think he'll be number 1 overall. And the only question is who's going to exact that pick.
Yeah, he's smart and savvy, Rich. I mean, he says all the right things in the article about being excited to get into the cadence again and having a team to build rapport with. He says, it's not anxiousness or anything like that. I can't wait to say my first cadence. The guy is smart. I mean, you don't go to school in Southern California without learning how to deal with the media and the attention and the spotlight. We're hearing rumors of up to $10 million coming in. He's had exposure to everything. So of course he's going to say the right things.
Absolutely. I hear you. Hey, I have a top 5.
Oh.
Let's do it. Mikey, you ready?
Hold on. Wait a minute. Before we do it, I'll introduce it to you.
Oh, sorry.
I've got, because does kind of all play into what we just had a conversation about. I've got the top 5 teams that should trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft. Hit it.
High 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Rich's top 5.
All right. So now, before I get to the actual teams on this list, because some of these teams on this list are somewhat down in the middle of this draft and might not, in your minds, have the capital to move up or shouldn't move up because they could take a quarterback in free agency instead and be cool and not give up any of their draft capital. So if you're sitting there thinking that, and maybe we'll be thinking it throughout this entire top 5, I present to you the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, when he talked on this very day about what his thought process was when he traded up for Josh Allen in the draft back in the day in 2018. Hit it.
If you can get a franchise quarterback, if he turns out to be a franchise quarterback, it'll be a good move. I mean, we got criticized a little bit for how much we gave up for Josh. And I'm like, well, if he doesn't work out, I'm not going to be here anyway. And if he does work out, nobody's going to give it.
Well, right?
That's factual. Okay.
Right?
Right.
So, that's the way I set things up for you as I go down this list right here.
Rip it.
Starting with the team that's in the baker's dozen spot on the clock, and it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Listen, Aiden O'Connell is there, and I see all the Charger fans out there, the Raider fans out there who tweeted me saying how they love AOC, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I just looked at your Twitter bio, and it's got a red MAGA hat on it. Oh, I'm like, but not that AOC. You're talking about Aiden O'Connell. Listen, I think the kid is a quality quarterback. I think he definitely acquitted himself very well. I don't believe the Raiders should go ahead and go into this offseason and figure out, is Russell Wilson the guy, or throw $50 million at Kirk Cousins and try and hook him up with Davante Adams. And I know Davante Adams might be like, really, another rookie quarterback? But yeah, I think if you can trade up and get Jaden Daniels, you can trade up and get even maybe J.J. McCarthy. You can trade up and really go up there and go get Drake May, or heaven forbid, you sell the entire farm. And by the farm, I don't mean, the ranch in Vegas. Listen, my wife's on the set. I'm going to move on here and tell you this. If you can go and get one of these kids and have him go against Mahomes, if you want to say go against Mahomes, maybe you get the next Mahomes and you give up as much as you can to get up from 13. I think the Raiders should decide to go and get a rookie quarterback if they really love that guy. Next up on the list is just 2 spots up, number 11. Listen, I think they're going to go ahead and re-sign Kirk Cousins. I think that is their plan. But instead, maybe the Minnesota Vikings use some draft capital, move up and draft a young quarterback and start the clock all over again and use that cap space that you're not spending on your quarterback and give it to Justin Jefferson, quite frankly, and figure out other people that you can sign. Build your team with this young quarterback. The rest of this division, as you know, you've got a young quarterback in Chicago, probably going to be Caleb Williams, and you've got a young quarterback in Jordan Love. Start the clock yourself from the very beginning and build up from there if you're the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3 on this list is 6th on the list overall. Maybe they shouldn't have to trade up. Maybe they just stay and get Jaden Daniels drop in their lap. But I think it's for the time for the Giants to do what Chris Brockman's been advocating pretty much for 3 years and set up for a future that does not have Daniel Jones as their quarterback. No. I think the Giants starting the clock again. It might be a nice move for Joe Shane and Brandon Bean, who might be feeling a bit of the heat as to their decision-making over the last year in their roster building, to start all over again and get a rookie quarterback and get some fresh blood into the NFC East. Number 2 on the list is the team that is right in between the number 4 and 5 teams on the list. The Denver Broncos are sitting at Baker's dozen. At the actual dozen, 12th overall. And I think the Broncos should decide to move up and, they'll take their medicine with Russell Wilson. I know they just got draft picks back that they've, actually, when I say back, I mean actual draft picks for them to use as opposed to having the last 2 years where they didn't have any. I like the Denver Broncos starting from scratch and Sean Payton getting his young kid and going to work. And number 1 on the list is I think the Washington Commanders should figure out what to do. Tell the Chicago Bears, you love Justin Fields, or maybe you like Drake May just as much as you like Caleb Williams, or you like Jaden Daniels just as much, or you like Justin Fields. How about you stick with that situation? We'll give you some extra picks. You then move down to just the 2nd overall, and you can take anybody you want, not named Caleb Williams. Maybe that is Marvin Harrison Jr. And you get Caleb Williams right there in Washington, D.C., which is his home area. And I think the Washington Commanders are the number 1 team that should trade up and get a rookie quarterback, and that's my top 5.
We need one more.
All right.
All right, we'll get one more.
There it is. I know we're up against the clock, so we'll get right to it. This would be highly provocative because you're telling your guy that's coming back from an Achilles injury, listen, we're starting the clock on you again, just like Brian Gutekunst did years ago, and I know it would be very, very provocative if the Jets trade up and get another rookie quarterback, and Aaron's like, really? This entire time I'm sitting here thinking I'm rehabbing and I can play till I'm 45 like Tom Brady. You're going to go ahead and get some fresh blood in here and you're going to back me up with a rookie? Didn't you see what just happened with Zach Wilson? But I think the Jets need to plan for the future. And lo and behold, did you see one of the teams that Jaden Daniels is meeting with this week? The New York Jets. They might be thinking the same thing I'm thinking. If they fall in love with one of these kids, maybe, just maybe, they go ahead and they trade up and go and get that kid. Instead of the protection for Aaron Rodgers. It would be a highly provocative move. Certainly after they put all their eggs in the Rodgers basket last year, even when he was not being around. I think the Jets should kick the tires on it and maybe consider it. That's why they're my 1 more on my top 5 teams that should trade up for a quarterback.
Love
there
it.
you have it.
Love it. Rich, real quick before you go.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals did it again.
What did they do?
Last night at 6:37 p.m. Pacific time, they posted this, the one and only.
What is this? What's going on? Are they now accepting artwork from people around the country? Like, what is this? What are they doing?
Well, Rich, as you know, we had to have a response.
Do we have Del Tufo?
Show it.
So we got? Let me see. What do we got?
Show
Let me see. Oh, yeah.
Our
well done, Stitch.
one and only Michael Del Tufo.
You look
That's
very
beautiful.
good there, Mikey. Very svelte.
That is pretty
That's
good.
beautiful.
I like it. I like it.
Hold on. Let me use the lanyard on my combine credential to wipe away the tears. That is just
Beautiful.
One and only.
You are the one and only, Mike.
It's amazing.
I know that. They don't. They never.
Hey, I got a bag in my room from the Visit Indy people.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, well, I remember
Yeah.
those.
What do we got?
I got a note, nice personalized note to Rich, welcoming you
welcome
to
town. Yeah.
I'm assuming it says welcome to Indy.
Well, better than it saying Rick.
That's right.
That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back to Indy. We're proud to have you here in Indy.
Nice.
We're proud to have hosted this event since 1987. Thought you'd enjoy the enclosed. Here, if you need anything during your visitor stay. It's nice.
What do we got?
Chris
Some gift
Collins.
cards?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, hold on. There's some some beer.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Look at that. Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have that. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. Look at this. Golf balls with the Indy logo on it.
Nice.
For all
Yeah.
your free time in Indy, right?
Oh, there's like a cheat sheet on Indianapolis. Art and athletes.
Okay.
There you go. They lost me. Reggie Miller. No thanks.
Uh-oh.
This is a Nick fan. I don't want to hear Reggie.
Uh-oh.
No, thank you.
Life.
Oh, yeah. Chocolates.
Oh yeah. Bring
Ooh.
them in.
See what
see
kind.
here?
Open them up.
Oh yeah.
And then close it up and don't eat them. and bring him home.
It's a milk chocolate race car, Suze.
Oh, for Coopy the Jew. Bring it
Cooper
back.
the Jew. And then in Indianapolis, it says milk chocolate thoughts. I don't know what that means.
Xander thinks he's going to eat those. That's what his thoughts are, right?
That's what his thoughts are. There's only 2, Suze.
What are you going to do about the little girl?
Well, I'm going to knock on other people's doors and say, you're going to have your chocolate?
That's not weird.
Is that weird?
Just a little bit.
Not weird at all.
Maybe
not
just
weird at all.
Maybe just a very little bit.
Making myself at home here in Indy.
Back on the radio, Rich Eisen here, joining us from Indianapolis. Susie Schuster
right.
in, taking the seat for the rest of the week. All right, Rich. So we thought we would do some grading. Some grading, Rich.
So real quick though, this NFLPA grading.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
So basically, it's the players on the teams just like giving their 2 cents on all the amenities that the team offers, from like childcare and
exit interview.
flights and all. So the team knows who it is, right? They know who
it's got to be anonymous, right?
For sure.
But
for sure.
But they
Anonymous.
play. It's you just look at their roster. You know.
Yeah, but you don't know who's voting.
You just
but
got to
Rich,
find.
it's not like in handwriting where they're like, "Oh, that was Mahomes." I can tell by his handwriting. I think it was like an online submittal.
But the bottom line is let's just say you go over the roster and you see that you've been given a bad grade on childcare. Like, you're not going to think it's somebody without a kid.
Like, it wouldn't be
right?
me in the room.
Right.
So,
exactly. Like,
you whittle it down from 53 to 30.
Right.
So
right.
still
So bottom line is if we had childcare at the Rich Eisen Show, and there was an F delivered in childcare, who's the only one who's got a kid?
Well, there's 2. There's Sarah and Chris.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be one of the 2 of them.
Okay. But if I knew that Sarah had not put her kid in Rich Eisen Show childcare, but Chris had, wouldn't you think I'd be able to find out who's bitching about it?
Well, if you made me go off-site and
Now,
charge,
that's true.
Yes.
then
I heard about that.
You would deserve that negative feedback.
Also,
maybe
Rich, moments before the air, I mean, Chris kind of dressed me down on my parenting
Yeah, he really
skills.
did. I was shocked.
He told me, "You parent your way, I'll parent my way." When I suggested that we take Cage to the car museum, he's like, "No way."
And I
Shut
said,
me down.
No, that's
Shut me
wow.
down.
That is so not what actually happened.
This does not sound accurate.
It's kind of what
So
happened,
not
Susie.
TJ, you were there.
No, I
was-
said
I heard
you were
it.
like, take Cage to the automotive museum. I'm like, yes, that would be awesome. However, he's just going to want to touch and get in every single car. And you're like, that's fine. And I'm like, no,
Not that
not
it's fine for him to get in
You're
every
like,
car.
Not fine. The kid needs to know some discipline.
We taught Cooper that he couldn't touch all the cars and get in them, and he's 13 and doing just fine. I offered to take your
My
kid.
kid's a maniac.
I offered to take Cage Rich because I love him, and
Yeah, we can do that.
our kids love him.
Yeah, it's part of the
and it
Rich
would have
Eisen
given
Show
you an afternoon
childcare
off.
package.
We get an A. You and
we want an
Sarah
A.
could have had cocktails, Moscow
Yeah,
mules by the
and Chris,
beach.
you didn't
Who's
even
the
like
jackass?
think about. You immediately were like, no, you didn't think. Wait a minute, I could have an extra 2 hours to do whatever I want to do.
And then I said to him, "My son is doing pretty well." He goes, "Which one?" I was like, "Okay, touche."
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Well,
Touche.
knowing Sarah and Chris, they'd walk around the car museum with their own roadie Moscow mules
Yes,
anyway.
exactly.
Well done.
They'd bring-
Flash situation.
All right. Well, at any rate, so that's the whole thing. When I'm reading this, I'm like, don't the teams kind of know? Like, what if somebody's already complained about the weight room and suddenly they get a D in it?
So it
you
should
know?
be no surprise then.
Exactly.
Rich, let me ask you this: if you were the owner and you see that you get a D plus
I'd be
or an
embarrassed.
F,
Chiefs got an
Unacceptable.
F minus for ownership.
Who did?
The Chiefs.
Chiefs.
They got
How?
Their grades are awful, Rich.
And the Steelers. Chiefs and Steelers, F for
Mr.
ownership.
Kraft got a D plus,
Yeah,
D minus.
D plus for
What are you
Kraft.
talking
What
about?
are we doing?
They travel in their own plane.
I know.
By the way, the plane got a D.
D, the plane got a D, Rich.
The plane got a D.
Exactly. What are they, not serving warm nuts like TJ said?
The Boeings, Mike, the Boeing Maxes? What's going on?
We determined it was Soul Plane that was flying a lot of these guys
Well,
around. And
I just know that we got an A,
All right.
whatever that is.
Stay out of trouble, Rich.
I will do that.
Well,
Still on Roku.
they're still on Roku. Hi, guys.
Okay.
Hi, everybody on Roku.
Hey, Rich, real quick before I forget, when you have breakfast with McAfee tomorrow, could you put a good
I'm
word
not doing
in
it
for me to get some WrestleMania tickets from him?
No.
'Cause I know he's got an in. You know?
Oh, we could do that, sure.
Yeah.
So listen,
We could do that.
my tomorrow I'm getting in a workout.
Oh, you're
so there'll be
zooming in your workout, right?
I'm zooming into my
Fantastic.
workout. Yeah. and then I'll have lunch with Agent of the Stars Jerry Silverwitz.
What up, Jerry?
Hello.
My Friday brunch is open at present.
Oh.
Saturday, big finish. Adam Schefter.
Oh,
Got Schefter.
yeah.
Brunch with Schefter. like Tuesdays
Insta-worthy
with Maury.
photograph.
Tuesdays with Maury.
Who would you like to have fill your brunch slot on Friday?
Oh, great
Bucket
question.
list.
I don't know.
Who's
Anyone
there?
rich.
Who's here? I
Like
don't know.
coach?
Who isn't there?
Like who?
Half the coaches aren't here, so
That's
I
right.
mean, I
Is
don't
it
know.
weird that most of the coaches aren't there? I don't like
No,
that.
it's not. You know why
Really?
they're not here?
Why?
It's because the broadcast is so enjoyable.
Right.
And
See?
so
They
it,
could
it
send
makes
home.
them feel like they're there because that's my job, to make people feel like they're there.
Rich Sala's on his way.
Hey.
You should text him.
I will. Do,
There you go.
Why don't you get together for a little cocktail? Maybe he could be
I
your
don't think
brunch
it's-
slot.
Here, coach.
yeah.
Here, Coach.
Thank you very much. Aaron. All right, everybody.
Does John
Listen.
Cougar Mellencamp still live in Indiana? You could have.
Oh,
him next
yeah.
with
I'll do that.
You
Yeah.
visit the pink house.
Small town. Okay.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.